Something a bit different in for review today. I have the MC1 action camera, and this was sent in via SoundPEATS for review. So we'll have a look over the box just to see what the specs are. This is a full HD version. There is a 4K one available too. Nice to see you get a decent quality case with this. All of the items that you get included are in here. And it's very similar to other action cameras that I have looked at. I haven't done any video reviews on them. This is the first one, but I have tried quite a few different ones. You have a spare back, J-hooks, tethers, lens cleaning cloth. It's a starter kit. You don't get anything such as the chest or head straps or wrist straps, but you do get the case here. You can mount that on a tripod. There is also a bike mount included. So really it's a starter kit. There are more comprehensive kits that you can buy for these action cameras, but it's not a bad little setup. One of the nice things with this is you get a spare battery too. So you have two batteries and the mini charger. That's a micro USB. You get the cable included with that. So you can always have a spare battery. Looking at the case, better quality than most I've tried. The top layer is more dense than the bottom foam layer. Now some of the cheap kits that I've looked at have just that weedy foam and they sort of go out of shape, but this one's decent quality, quite happy with that. You also have a carry handle at the top. You don't have the waterproof zips, but it's a nice quality way to keep the stuff together, and it's an improvement over the earlier action cameras. All of these are GoPro compatible, these mounts. And just looking at the water resistant case, buttons on the outside, and you have a single latch to close it. This has some foam inside and the rubber seal, so it prevents the camera from moving around. You want to take off these protection layers over the lens. You can see the buttons on the side. A lot of these action cameras are pretty much the same thing in terms of the design. There are some differences. With the 2-inch LCD, we have the HDMI and micro USB, as well as the port for the micro SD card. Take off the battery cover. You do have tabs on the battery, so it makes it a bit easier to remove them. Just have a quick look at the menus on this. It's all in one single layer. It's not split into tabs. And there are some features in here such as a burst photo shooting, continuous lapse and time lapse. You can also turn off the beeps, which I would probably advise because they can be a bit annoying. It's fairly basic. You don't have any extensive options for adjusting the image such as the contrast and saturation. That's something I would have liked to have seen, but you do have enough options there to get going. It doesn't have a car mode on this or a dash cam mode. Personally, I think you're better off just going with a dedicated dash cam, but you do find the interval timer can be quite useful. I'd use that a fair bit. Interestingly, it does show 4K in the menus, but only at 10 frames a second. So they're advertising it as a full HD. Not sure the 4K is going to be that useful at 10 frames per second. You'll really need to be up to around about 20-25 frames a second. It won't be smooth. And this lists out the contents of the package. I didn't get the charger with mine. Not really a problem because you can plug it into any USB port. The included user manual is actually quite good, shows everything very clearly and gives you some options on how to mount the camera. So if you've never used one of these action cams before, then it's a good way to get going. Quite simple and straightforward. Also goes through all of the modes, including the photo, time-lapse and burst mode. So they've done a decent job on the manual. Can't complain at all with that. Just going to put a card into the camera. The LED indicator on top will start flashing when you are recording. There's no options that I could see in the menu to switch that off, but it's something I'd probably leave on just to remind you that it's actually recording. Now I did download the app and try it out. Pretty basic and simple, but you can control the camera remotely via Wi-Fi. You can also review images. There's no real options much in this apart from that. It's quite basic, and playback on the camera is also very straightforward and simple. Quick test on the battery now. So I'm charging this up with a micro USB cable. Glows red and then turns to blue when it's finished, and it cuts the voltage. And the charging rate on the charger and in camera is about half an amp, so you're looking at about an hour and 40 minutes charging time. We'll show you some samples now and come to a conclusion. Wrapping up with a few thoughts on the action camera. Overall, this is pretty good. This is a budget action camera, so my expectations are tailored towards that. Would have changed a couple of things. Would have liked to have been able to adjust the image parameters, such as the contrast, white balance, saturation, things like that. Also wouldn't have minded a couple of high speed modes, such as a high frames per second, 120 frames per second, or something around that. On the plus side though, pretty good value. You get a nice little case included. I thought the image quality was decent for a camera in this price range. Again, you get what you pay for with these. This is very much a starter kit, but overall I thought it was pretty good. Definitely worth checking out for someone who's new to the action camera scene and wants to keep the cost quite reasonable.